Welcome. Excited to be here. It's hard to believe that 1 year ago I was sitting there deciding if we should even do this thing. So it's been 1 year exactly, and now I'm up here presenting, which is funny. My safe harbor is we're still in the process of implementing our product. So our implementation. So I don't have exact numbers of it dropped the DSO to this amount or whatever. I can tell you all the stuff that we've had to do. So mainly what we're really up here to demonstrate is kind of how we've had to use FieldFX and change some of the things to match the way we manage our rentals. So a little bit about us. We support the gas and oil industries. We use fluid processing and all of that. So we rent frac tanks. That's our main thing. We rent frac tanks. We also have water disposal facilities in Utah. That part we haven't integrated yet into FieldFX, but we plan on doing it. So that's who we are. We've been doing it for quite a while, and that gives you an idea of the areas that we're in. So the need for FieldFX. One of the big things is we are mobile. Our yards change. We move around a lot for getting better costs. And one of the challenges that we had is our IT infrastructure, we had VPNs, we have on-premise servers, we have all this stuff that supports our current system. Well, the system that we're using before FieldFX. And we wanted to cut down those costs, and so we want to move to the cloud. And that was one of the big pushers. Another thing that we needed was me. I designed the original system, and the CEO kind of felt like, well, if you leave us, then we really don't know how to deal with this system. You don't have a good backup. So we felt like with FieldFX, with the company and all of that, if I left, we had people to support the program and make it work. So we didn't want to be in that risk. Also, we just wanted to make our ticketing process more efficient. Most of it was paper. We needed to be faster. We wanted to get things signed. In our old system, kind of one of the things that was happening was we were batching everything at the end of the month. And we wanted our trucking, because our trucking generates some good revenue. So when we're hauling out our tanks to locations and so forth, we wanted to collect that revenue faster. And so with FieldFX, we're trying to get that signed and done and those tickets moved on quicker so that our revenue comes in quicker. Well, that was a challenge that we had. Another challenge that we kind of had is when our salespeople left us, they kind of owned the contact information with their phones and spreadsheets and wherever they kept track of it. We didn't have a central decent location that the company knew and could control and had good eyes on, and so FieldFX has helped us with that. So some of our business needs, we needed to be mobile, like I said. We wanted a more robust software. We wanted to eliminate paper. We didn't want to lose our contact information. And once again, we're going to eliminate our costs with our IT hardware and servers and all that as soon as we're all into the cloud. We couldn't see the future with our scheduling and dispatch. That was one thing that we didn't have. We couldn't kind of plan out and see, where stuff was when it was going to happen. And so one of the big things that we liked when we first saw FieldFX was schedule and dispatch. We were able to kind of look out and see what's coming up, so to speak. Another thing is the stow and go with the mobile. We work in remote sites, and so we needed that capability, and we didn't have that capability with our old system, and so that was another big challenge that we were facing. So why did we go with FieldFX? One of our goals was to get our district managers to have more of the information in their hands. Currently, With our old system, some of the managers were using it, other managers were basically emailing their information into a back office person who then would input the information. So it was a little bit delayed, it was confusing, sometimes inaccurate, which caused a lot of delays and issues. And so one of our goals is to get our managers to have the information at their fingertips and them be the owners of it. We want them facing forward, being less reactionary in their operations. And schedule and dispatch and planning and all of that is going to help them do that. We wanted all of our tickets to be digital. We wanted a SaaS solution, which FieldFX is. And what we like is they kind of make us look professional, a little bit more professional with all the digital and with the mobile and the ability to do all of that. Gives us a little bit more professional feel and gives us a competitive edge. So what we did is we had our implementation team. Our sponsor was our CEO, Gary Coates, and then we had our accounting person, Hunter, and then me and Jimmy. Me and Jimmy pretty much are doing all the project management and implementation and technical and all of that. We have, one of our challenges is we have our company shrunk a lot with oil going down, and so we don't have a lot of resources to use, so we're kind of a small team and we make it work the best we can. This kind of gives you an idea of our implementation. We started, once again, I told you we came here last year. One of the things we were unsure of, we wanted to do a trial version instead of just jumping right in. And so we did that. And then in June, I went to the admin class, did that, and then we started importing all of our data. It took us from August to November, and that was most of the configuration time. And by December, we started implementing. When we implemented, I knew that FieldFX would only be at one of my implementations. And since Jimmy had been working with me all along, we kind of used him as a pilot. So we kind of implemented without FieldFX, kind of piloting with our Appalachia district, which was one where I had a guy who's been along with me the whole time, and he was one who's doing it all in the old system. So it worked out pretty good. So we worked out most of the bugs during that. And then we moved to our next areas. We did 2 areas at once. We went to a more complex area, and I did that on purpose because I knew that I would have Merrick at my meeting and a whole week there helping us with the implementation. That went well, and so we came back, and of course after you do an implementation, all of our districts they're different and they have different challenges. They're similar in the sense that they rent tanks, but the way their jobs work are completely different. Some of them have enormous jobs, some of them have really small jobs. Some have hundreds of jobs going on, and other ones only have 15 or 20 jobs going on. So all of those things bring in a big challenge. And so one of the things that we're facing is each district, because of those unique challenges, kind of tweak and change our implementation as we go along. So that's a challenge that we have. So just last week we implemented it again in 2 other areas, and now I'm here. So that's about how our schedule has been. If you're curious in a timeline, it took us roughly a year, I would say. So there's some things that we found with FieldFX that it didn't come out of the box for us. The big thing for us is rental equipment, and so we're going to demonstrate that today. We're going to show you these enhancements that we've done. So one of the big things, first of all, the thought was, well, you can tell what's on rent when your tickets come out. Well, that's a problem for us. We have to know the day that they're on rent, and we got to be able to project how far our revenue is going to be. So if this tank is on rent for $50 in 5 months, what's it earning us? And so we had to create a tracking system of statuses. So every piece of equipment we have to know if it's on rent, standby, staged, and have its history and be able to see that. So we had to make that capability or build that capability in. Also, with those statuses, some of them are billable and some of them aren't. And we had to build in rules to keep that straight with our ticketing, to make sure that our ticketing was being ticketed at the right times and all of that. So there was a bunch of rules being created there with the statuses. Another challenge that we had with schedule and dispatch is we are equipment heavy, which means we have a lot of equipment going onto a job. So that means on the job, that's a lot of equipment planning records. And the other thing is our equipment is on rent for a long period of time. Well, one of the difficulties in schedule and dispatch is if you're trying to change one of those bars, those placeholders, if it's farther than your window, it just kind of doesn't work that well. And if you got to change 50 of them at once, that's not easy either. That would be time consuming to try to drag that. So we have some enhancements to help make that very fast, easy for us. So we'll demonstrate that for you also. Another thing that we have is when we have to build rental tickets. And for each rental tickets, so let's say I have 100 tanks on the job, I've got to list that on a ticket, which means that's 100 ticket items. So we build an enhancement where it creates all that for us with one click of a button. We just select our tanks, hit the button, boom, ticket's done. So that took off a lot of time. So that was an enhancement that was critical for us. Another thing that we did, our customers require taxes on our tickets. And FieldFX doesn't do taxes. But we build in a module and we have taxes now on our tickets. So that was cool. One thing that we always need to know is the current status. What job are you on? The equipment, where are you? All that. And we have that capability now. At the equipment level, we can see, I can pick out any piece of equipment and it'll tell me what those three things. I know where you're at and what you're doing. Also, another thing that we did is our jobs get created straight from the quote. So our quote is kind of our opening door. We have one quote per job. And when I say I have, let's say 20 frac tanks, and then I have 15 flowback tanks, and maybe I have some other pieces of equipment on that job, from my quote, when I win my quote, what'll happen is all those equipment planning records will automatically be thrown into the job and built for me as soon as I hit quote 1. So I don't have to go in and automatically add all that equipment from the quote or all those items. It automatically happens as soon as we say quote 1. Once again, that was a huge time saver. So it just puts in all those planning records for us. And if I have to modify my job, we just modify our quote a little bit and puts it back in. So it's really a nice system from that standpoint. Lessons learned. One of the things that we did is we were really nervous, and so we did that trial version. If I could go back, I wouldn't have done the trial version. It caused me and Merrick some headaches just because I thought, well, we're going to do all this work in the trial version and it'll give us a springboard into when we really start. It was just there was things done. I would have rather started from a clean page. One thing that we lacked up front was we really didn't have the reports we didn't really know what we wanted. We really didn't know how they should look. My advice is if you have complex reporting requirements, make sure that you've got that in your build-in up front. We had to do a complete new change order And we're right now in the process of doing some very complex reports, which I wish we would have kind of understood that from the beginning. It would have helped us as programming and implementing it. Now it's kind of behind. Another really good thing is our CEO is heavily involved. Every week we're on a meeting and he is detailed. And he, like I say here, he doesn't believe it to be, I just make the order, it's a guided missile. And so that's helped move this whole process along. It's delayed it in some ways because he's very detailed, but it's made it better. So that's been a good thing for us. One thing, because we had designed a system, I knew all the data, I had all the data, so getting it all in was really fast. It took us like 4 days to get all our data migrated over into FieldFX. And that was because I just had all the experience in designing the first system. So that designing helped. Some of the stuff we're showing you is a little bit based off that our previous enterprise system. Like I said, I can't tell you the benefits down to like DSOs and stuff like that, but I can tell you some things that we're seeing right now. The benefits are our CEO now can see all the data, where before he struggled seeing it from all the business units and everything. We see that it does give our managers more information if they're using it. Right now that's our biggest struggle, is the adoption of it. That's probably our challenge at this point. Tickets are being signed quicker. We have a better knowledge. In our old system, we didn't have inspections, and so when we do our transport tickets, we've built in inspections. I don't think we're demonstrating that, but we inspect. We do inspections. So what that's doing is it's made our fleet better, and identifying problems. Now that we're using mobile, our drivers and people are more informed about the jobs. Before, they're just take that tank and go from A to B. Now they have all that information and they're more informed, which makes them better. Our customers are more informed. Because of the quote process and all of that, the way we've built it, they now know, they get notifications, these are the tanks. We have a custody transfer ticket that they now sign that shows the tanks are inspected, they're clean, they're good. So our customers are getting better information from us through FieldFX. So they like that. We've already had positive feedback from some of Jimmy's customers saying, hey, I like how I can now know what's going out there and what's happening. So it's helped our communication with customers. Our MSAs and stuff are built in, and it's all in there. We're more secure we're more protected legally now. With our T's and C's and all of that, it's getting signed and it's more formal and it's better up front. So those are some of the benefits that we've already reaped at this point in time. So I'm going to turn the time over to Jimmy, and he's going to show you some of those things that I talked about.
Hi everybody, how you doing today? What I want to do is show you a little bit some of the things that we do inside FieldFX. What I did is usually we like to be proactive, planning the jobs ahead of time. I knew that I'd be here today, so I kind of held a job back to demonstrate. And then last night we got another job I think shows a little bit more of what we've done to the system. We went through, and the first job we're going to go to is quote 370. So I'll just pull up that quote real quick. We have some steps in there, draft status, self-approval status, and then submit to customer. What that does is we'll do a quote, and then this quote here, we will send that to our customer so they know what information they're going to get, the pricing of the tanks, what tanks they're getting, so forth. And then we have the notes of what pad it's going to and actually who ordered it from that. And then some customers sign off on the quote. I have 2 customers that do. The other ones just keep it for their information. So once everything is good on the quote, we'll hit the quote 1 button. What's that? Okay. Once we do that, we refresh the status. And then you see down below, then that creates the job for us. Like Greg said, the information that we put in the quote, we kind of know from our customer how long the job is. So this job was they roughly told us 60 days, so we put that information in. So you see over here, you have the estimated start date of 4/23 and the end date of 6/22. As we dive into the job, you see our equipment planning. Here's the 3 tanks that they took. And if you notice, here's the planning dates, okay? So once we're on here, we have a couple rules before we can change the status from job opportunity to job planning. One of the rules is that we have to put in a lease name or the billing location. Another thing that we do is we put in how many miles each tank has traveled. So that was part of our things as well that we look at. We just use that for information to see how far we have traveled between our location and the delivery point. So once we have that information in there, that allows us to go to the job planning stage. There's more information you can put in there. We have rig name. This is going to a completion site, so I don't need to put a rig name there. The job location, we can put directions in here, and then that directions can be sent off to our drivers that are delivering our equipment. So once we're here, this is where we'll go to our schedule and dispatch. Like Greg has mentioned, we want to be proactive instead of reactive. So once we look at our schedule and dispatch, here's our screen. So right now, you can create many different views here. I have a view for my equipment assignment, and then I also have a view for my transport assignment. So basically, I have 2 different views. One view allows me to assign the drivers to it, so I can assign my own drivers, or I can assign third-party trucks to move those. And then the other screen is equipment, where I assign all the equipment. So we'll go look at this job, and if I don't have a filter in here, it's going to show me every job that I have. So we can see on every job, so like job J105, we can see that I had those tanks on rent up to April 15th. And then when we look at our statuses, those tanks should be either at a staged status or even an off-rent status. So again, we'll look at the one job that we were doing. The way I have my screen set up here on the assignments is I just have it looking at the month. As you can see, there is a little bit of movement that we got to do on the screen to make it easier. So we're looking right here. Again, I'm in transport assignment, so I'm going to assign my drivers to this. So basically, if you see, I have 2 different colors here. The aqua color, or the gray color, I guess, on that screen, I don't know, is our third-party trucking that we use. And then the purple color, or blue on my screen, that's the drivers for DHI in the Appalachia. So just to make everything easier, I'm going to show me as the driver for this one. And I'm just going to go ahead and drag my name on it. And if you see in that pill marker, all of a sudden you'll see my name pop up. Down below, you'll see the assigned equipment. That's where I'll assign the equipment to the driver. So first of all, let's go over to the equipment assignment. And then here is where I will assign all my equipment to the job. So what I'll do is I'll enter my tank number in. And a lot of this is planning that we have. Why is that tank compromised? Do I have the wrong number? Okay, we'll just use this for an example. So right now, that actually tank says that it's on rent. So for this example, I'll throw this on this pill marker, and it will show here. Now, with having 929 already on rent another job, if you notice, this pill marker is going to say, it's going to alert me that I've already assigned this tank to another job. So it prevents a double booking in the system. So I'm just going to add the other two real quick. Again, that's there. And that's how I would go ahead and assign. If you notice here, like I did here, you'll see that I have double booking, so that means I have two planning dates overlapping each other. Here with these two tanks, I do not have the planning dates overlapping. So if I go over to transport assignment, and then I'm going to assign the equipment to my driver, which in this case is me. I'll click on assign, and if you notice, we'll have the screen. Again, this is something that FieldFX did for us. So from this point, I can go ahead and select on the tanks that I think that I'll be moving that day, and then I'll assign the crew delivery. And if I go ahead and over top of this pill marker again, if you notice the second line now, it does show me that I have 3 tanks assigned to me at that point. I'm going to open up my email real quick and just kind of show you what that email looks like that the driver would receive. It might take a bit. We'll go back and take a look at that. So basically, that's how we go ahead and plan our jobs throughout, and then that way we also plan the driver. So once we have everything planned out the way we want it, we can go ahead and turn the opportunity into a current job. So right now we have a current job active. So if we look at everything on the information, you see here's the job name that we have, the quote that it refers to. Here's the lease name. And then if you look at our, okay, actually there's the email just popped in. That's the email that our drivers will get, letting them know that they're assigned to move that tank for that job to that customer on that date. And if you notice, we delivered 3 tanks. You notice I just got 3 emails coming that. So when we send that email, it's if I assign the guy 3 tanks, he's going to move 3 tanks. He'll get 3 emails, I'm sorry. Okay. What I'd like to do is show you another job that just came in. And this one's a little bit different. On this job here, I have 8 tanks to deliver to this location. I'm delivering 4 tanks today, and then I'm also delivering 4 tanks on Friday. So this is how we're going to see how we can change our planning dates. So again, we go to when we get the order, we kind of ask the customer how long does this job for. He'll let us know. So for this point, I'm just going to go ahead and win the quote here. And then I'm going to refresh. And then again, it creates the job number. Again, we have our things that we have to put in. And then it goes and loads everything. Oh. Maybe. Hate too much when the internet's not working. Okay. Okay, so we got the job planning. I'm going to go and look at this job at 349. I'm going to go over to my equipment assignment. And again, I'm going to go ahead and drop tanks onto that job. And then what we did in our system was when we set up our equipment, we have special codes in there letting know what kind of style tanks we have. We have multiple style frac tanks. We have slope top tanks, we got single step tanks. Doing this, coding them a separate way, lets us know what kind of tanks we're running in each division. Like you said, we have divisions throughout. It lets us also know what kind of rates that we're getting. The Appalachia rate might be we might get a better rate in Appalachia than we do in Wyoming. So it makes sense if we move inventory around across the country, it might make sense for us to move maybe a slope top tank to Appalachia instead of a rectangular tank, just because of the popularity of that. So I'll try to do this as quick as I can. Maybe I should have done a smaller job. Okay, so I'll just do a quick refresh. So now on this job, like I said, I'm moving 4 tanks today and then 4 tanks then on Friday. What we had the system do for us is actually, instead of going in and altering each tank to show a different planning date, we had this built for us. And basically what this does is we'll edit our pill markers on schedule and dispatch. So I will select the tanks that are actually going to be moved on Friday. Okay, and then I'll hit my edit button, and then the planned start date, I'll be able to change that. And if you notice here where I've highlighted, now shows 427. And then here I have 425. So I'll hit the save button. And then I will be able to go back to schedule and dispatch. And if you see those pill markers, then have moved for us. So then at this point, I will assign the drivers from here on these ones, and then I will do another, well, actually, I'll do it this way. That's my driver, so he'll be actually moved over to that day. And then that's my third party. So basically, I would just assign the tanks to the third party, and they'll get an email, so they'll know they can go to my yard, know what tanks to pick up, know what tanks are good, and then they'll be able to move them to that site. One of the last things that we do is we do what we call managed equipment. Again, this is something that we had done for us, and basically what it will say is this is where we'll assign the new status to the tank. So right now, we'll just look at 923 for an example. The last status said it was available. We can go to that, update its status, select the day that it went on rent. We always leave the end date open-ended because even though the job might be 60 days, it might go 70 days, it might go 50 days. So the way we have the system built is we keep that open-ended. Select on rent, and then we list the pad, and then we hit save, and then you'll see our status here change to on rent. One more quick thing, then I'll let you go. Again, we showed you how to alter the start date. We alter the end date as well. So if this customer calls after 45 days, say, hey, the job's going to be up tomorrow, we would just do the same thing. We'd go from here, edit the planning records, select all the tanks, and then change the clean. They were 1031, now they're